my bus to Prague leaves in 2 hours 6 minutes. So will I make it? Let's go for it. She is one of my best friends. She is the person whom I know more than 10 years already. And she combines unique hobbies, and she also does really important and amazing job. And she also happened to be a refugee at the moment, because she had to leave our native country. She left Ukraine after a while when the war started. So, without further ado, let's meet Alya.
Давай.
I'm ready to answer your question.
Can you tell me about your life in Ukraine before the full-scale Russian invasion? So, what did you do? What did you do for a living? And what were your hobbies?
Before the war began, I was working at an NGO, which cooperates with the Ukrainian government and helps to make reforms in different fields, like to make our laws more Europeanish, less corrupt, and so that I'm working as a communications expert in this organization. And about my hobbies, I am still making jewelry, upcycled jewelry out of various materials that are not supposed to become something artistic, something beautiful, but I find ways to reuse them in this way. I had my own workshop at Podil, like at the historic part of Kiev, with an entrance to the roof, and like that was a very special place for me. And yeah, so that's what I was doing.
Okay, and tell me please, when did you decide to move, and when did you move, and where? Where do you live now?
Well, after the war began, first my grandparents didn't want to leave, so we, with my mother, we moved to Western Ukraine, and we waited for them to leave their house near Kiev. And in a week, Russian army came really close to their place. They were bombing the street, like basically our street, and which is our house. And finally, my grandparents agreed to move to a safer place. So we were staying together with my family, and I really didn't feel like leaving country at that moment. But then, when the situation around Kiev got better, like my grandparents came back to their place, renewed it after Russian army lived there. And I also came back to Kiev, but because like I couldn't stay anymore in a small city in Western Ukraine, it was driving me crazy, while it was kind of safe. So I decided to go to Europe to be in a safer place and to have an opportunity, to basically put less, not to be a burden for, let's say, Ukrainian infrastructure, and to wait in a safe place before I can come back to a peaceful country. So yeah, I moved to Brussels in the beginning of summer, and I've stayed there for half of the year, and now I'm moving to Berlin.
Okay, so wow, yeah, so you lived in Ukraine during the invasion for 4 months or so. Okay, and how was it to live there during that time? And I know that you just came from Ukraine, so can you tell from first person, how is it there now?
Well, it is, people get used to everything, at least Ukrainians. We get used to any kind of situation, so altogether the life is going on. And for me now, as I've been there for 3 weeks, it's not even it's something normal, it seems normal, but I understand that for all of my European friends, like when I tell them how it is like to live your daily life in Ukraine now, they all get shocked. They're like, wow, like how can you? But you see, there is lack of electricity. Russia is constantly bombing our infrastructure, the heating power stations, the electricity stations. So in Kiev, the lack of electricity is permanently around 40-30%, which means you have electricity in your house only for several hours per day, and it can be 4 hours or it can be 8 hours. And when you have the electricity, when people go to sleep, they turn on the light. Like, you don't have electricity, but you leave the turner on. So if at night you suddenly get electricity at like 4 a.m., the light goes on and you wake up and you go and do everything you may need electricity for. Like, you turn on the washing machine, you cook yourself food on your electric how do you call that?
Oh my god, not kettle, but
oh, you got that. Like you use all of the electrical stuff that you may need, because you have electricity now, but you don't know for how long you will have. And it is complicated if you live on a high floor, for example, because you have to walk and you have to with the water. In many buildings, water is connected to electricity. So if you don't have electricity, it doesn't go for upper floors for more than 5 and 6. If you live on 10th floor, if you don't have electricity, you also don't have water. And also there are air alarms almost every day, and sometimes you don't go to bomb shelter. Sometimes you do. And if it continues daily, like every day at night, for example, at 1 a.m. the air alarm goes on, so you have to wake up and at least go to the corridor, because if you don't go to bomb shelter, you should at least be at a place where you're surrounded with 2 walls from each side, so in case the bomb gets into your house, you won't be not even the bomb. If the bomb gets in your house, you're dead. But if a piece of a bomb, for example, falls on your building, you will be at least protected from the pieces of it. Mm-hmm. So and it is exhausting. It is also it gives me hope being home, with my people, because I see how how people unite, how people help each other, and how strong they are in their decision to win and to come through whatever happens. But of course, it is tough. It continues, and nobody knows when it will finish, and people can't plan anything. You plan for a week. You don't plan for months or for years. You don't have any fixed plans for life anymore. You just plan to survive.
When you moved to Europe in summer, how was the welcome that you received? Did you face any prejudice or was it rather, how did you feel here?
No, people were super helpful and friendly. I actually moved to a host family first because my friend was already living there, and this family for me they are heroes because they already had a child, 1-year-old child, and the woman was pregnant, but still they agreed to have us as a burden, like two strangers in their home, but they were eager to help, and I'm really, really thankful. At the same time, it's a bit being a refugee is a bit you often feel that you spoil the mood of the people when you tell them that, because when you're in a bar or in a club and you just communicate and they ask you where you come from and they hear Ukraine and their face suddenly changes. They're like, oh, okay, they don't know what to say and how to support you, and that's normal. Like if I wasn't there, if I was them, I wouldn't know what to say either. But as for me, war is almost the main thing constantly going on. It's always in the background. I always think about it. And for European people, it's good that we're still sometimes on the news. But of course, they are tired of this constant negative flow that they receive about Ukraine, like people dying, children being deported, territories being occupied. So sometimes I feel like I'm not welcome, but that now when they're chilling and drinking, they don't want to hear about
about this
and
horror
Russia
that doesn't
and stuff,
stop.
but that's all I can passionately talk about.
Remember yourself on 24th of February 2022. Can you tell me, please, what did you feel on that day, and how have your feelings evolved during this almost a year?
In the morning on the 24th, when we were trying to leave the city, me and my mother, we were standing in a huge traffic jam of cars, of people trying to leave Kiev. And back then I had two very certain feelings. I talked them through to myself to fixate them. First, of course, I was terrified. I felt like I'm about to vomit all of the time. That was like a physical reaction of the body, the fear, and that was the first emotion. And the second was. For some reason, I felt like we're gonna win. It wasn't like an optimistic "we're gonna win" feeling, but I had this very clear understanding that this kind of war that has begun, it's a war between good and bad, like the good in the world and the evil in the world. And in case we lose, the world will fail, because it will mean that all of the rules that we've been living to, all of the norms of the society, they don't work. If Ukraine doesn't manage to win, and if the world won't support us in that, if we are gone, our whole civilization will be gone too. And about how they've evolved, I still think the same, but of course. Throughout the year, my feelings changed many times, and actually the last feeling that I got when I was in Kiev, a very also certain feeling that I've fixed for myself, is that I feel despair, but a good kind of despair. When you're desperate and you give up hope, in some way, it frees you. You know, like I don't have any more illusions. That's what I mean. Like I don't think that the war will end soon. I don't think that it would be easy, that some miracle will happen and suddenly we will win. Like I now fully understand that something, a completely new world, a new period has begun for the whole world, but the world may not understand that yet, but Ukrainians understand that already. Like everything has changed, and it has changed forever. Like whatever happens next, it will never come back to that peaceful time that we've been living in. And that is this despair that I'm talking about, meaning I don't have any more hopes for a miracle. I know that sometimes at the New Year table, some of my friends said, talking about 2023, like, well, at least nothing worse can happen. And my other friends corrected them, saying, no, something worse can happen, and even more, it will happen. So that's the philosophy that we live with today. Just accept the fact that something bad will happen constantly, but also embrace living, because like you're gonna keep on living with that. And yeah, so that's what I feel.
Do you see it rather positive, negative? Maybe you have some particular thoughts about where do you see yourself?
No, and these kind of questions make me used to make me sad. Now I'm not sad anymore, but I don't have any plans. I think that what changed with war in my vision of my future is that for now I really don't care about something material, about settling down, buying a flat, earning lots of money, because war has shown us how fragile and insignificant is everything which we considered solid. And so I don't plan for now. I have a very short term plan, but I'm pretty sure that whatever I do, it will be something that I like, and I will do it because I like it, because I like the idea, the purpose, but not because I basically want to earn money and some value.
What is your current job now? Do you like what you do? So you told in the beginning that you do things related to reforms in Ukraine. So is it still something? Can you do anything now in that regard?
Of course. Like we can't wait for war to end to begin making lots of different stuff, because then Ukraine will not enter the EU in some near future, because while we are fighting, the world is developing, and we have to somehow combine and develop we have to move forward with the world despite the fact that we are also suffering from war. So yes, like there are many reforms which are being done right now, and that is what I love my job for, is that is something significant for the country, something meaningful, and especially during the first months of the war, understanding that I'm doing something that helps people. It's like such a general phrase, but that's actually what we do. It helped me a lot to like mentally survive the horrors.
Давай.
Колядую! Коляда! Що русні пизда!
So Alya, let's talk about your precious Magazine Zine project. Can you just describe the concept of Magazine Zine in one or two sentences?
It's a brand of upcycled jewelry, and in future I think some also like pieces of decor, maybe some bigger forms that I can work with. So that is all upcycled, made from what is not supposed to be
In use anymore?
Yeah, and it's not supposed to be aesthetic, like not supposed to be beautiful, but I find ways to give this rubbish a new life and to upcycle it, you know, like the meaning of the term upcycle, like what's the difference between it and recycling. Recycling means like you reuse the material, and upcycling means that you reuse the material but you put it on a new level, like you add some value to what it's been before. So yeah, that's the core of Magazine.
This is wonderful, and you know, it amazes me, honestly, truly. And I will definitely show my viewers the pieces that you made already. And I want to congratulate you on your first sales, by the way. This is really a great milestone, even though you did not put like a paid advertising or something. And it really amazes me. Tell me please, were you able to bring it with you along to Europe?
Like for now, not fully, I'd say, because I've already transferred to Europe like my materials that I'm working with, something that I've collected while I've been in Ukraine, because of course I can find materials anywhere I am, but for the I think for the identity of the brand, like of the jewelry that I'm making, it is very important that I come from Ukraine, from Ukrainian aesthetic landscape, and that it consists of Ukrainian coins, Ukrainian tokens for metro, Ukrainian, like various things which have some specific Ukrainian aesthetics. So I've transferred most of them to Europe already, but for now I don't have a place to work at. I have ideas of new pieces that I want to make, but I'm quite short in the instrumentary that I can use for now, and I hope that like soon in Berlin I will find a space to work at. So that's the state in which I am now. I only have like an Instagram page where I began posting what I've already made before the war, but throughout the war it was quite hard for me to find inspiration. It's inspiration is it is here, but this moment of this step from thinking to making is quite hard, especially taking into account that like the circumstances are not supporting you, like motivating you. Before the war began, I had my workshop place in Kiev, and it was the exact place where I was like totally dedicating myself to making my jewelry, but for now I don't have such a place in Europe. So yeah, I hope that would change soon.
I wish you that. I wish you the best luck with it.
When I was on my way to Prague, I had this idea of shooting a small movie about also my friend. And the idea behind it was basically to break stereotype about refugees, because I know my friend and she became a refugee because of the war, because of the reasons, and I wanted to break a stereotypical image of a refugee who is a person who is a burden for society. I wanted to show a person who contributes to economy, a person who develops her hobby even in this uneasy time, and who is just interesting after all. Little did I know that I will also meet in Prague another person, another interesting person, and another story of another Ukrainian girl, and she used to be a refugee as well for a while. She used to live in Prague, and we actually hang out in Prague at this time. Her name is Tanya, and she moved to Prague for several months, like many months ago actually. She even managed to establish her life there. And now she's coming back to Ukraine. Now, in January 2023, when Ukraine is constantly under Russian rockets, she's coming back not just anywhere else to Ukraine, but to a city of Kharkiv that is partially like destroyed by Russians, to a city that is a really dangerous place to be. So I talked with her about what stays behind it, what's her story, and even though our conversation is quite short, I hope it will be interesting, insightful, and you will enjoy watching it.
Tanya, we talked before, and I was quite horrified from our conversation about the fact that you had to flee a war twice in your life. First time from Donbass, and second time from Kiev after the start of the full-scale Russian invasion. Can you tell me, please, so when did you leave the Ukraine finally?
I left Ukraine 1 month after the war started.
So like in March, more or less.
Yeah, probably in March. Like at first, I came to my parents' place to make sure that they are safe, and trying to kind of help them. But they're in Lutsk now, so they're kind of safe region. So after 1 month being there, I decided to move in Prague.
Okay.
Because when the war started, I lost my actual job in Ukraine and was trying to find some possibilities to live further and to have another job.
Okay.
So yes, my
What
friends.
What did you do in Ukraine before?
My last job was connected with recruitment. It was a consulting company, but our partners was mostly Ukrainian companies. So that's why, it was hard
Really
times
bad
for them.
time for business. Okay. And can you tell me please how did Czech Republic treat you? How's your life looking like during these months here?
To tell the truth, honestly, I feel really good here in Czech Republic because I've met a lot of good people who was trying to help me, who provided me with a good job, and I have really good friends over there. So yes, life here like safe and kind of good, but you know this feeling in the background that you always thinking about the situation in Ukraine and what is going on there while you're living your life here.
And so here we come like logically to the next question. What are the reasons for you to return to Ukraine now? As for example, from my point of view, I do not see the end of the conflict really soon. So it's not far from 100% safe to return there now. Why did you choose to return? And I know that you returned to the city of Kharkiv, which is really vulnerable to Russian attacks, and you know it's half of it is destroyed. Why do you return?
Good question. Yes, I agree. In some point, it's not super safe, but I have a feeling after the first war started, yes, in Donetsk, I left my town at that time, and I never came back.
You never ever came back to your native
No,
town?
I never been to Donetsk after that situation. And now I kind of have an understanding that this conflict could be prolonged and it could take not 1 year, maybe 2, and I should do something now to try to help my country and to have the opportunity to come back there again. To Kharkiv, to Kiev, I love those cities, and like, of course I want to do the best to support and like to help them fight this war. Actually, I will be not fighting in the front line, of course. I accept I accept the invitation of my brother. He's making a company in Kharkiv, and like it's like a business. Yeah. And I will help him to like with recruitment process. So I will hire people, and I think that it's like kind of good idea right now because Kharkiv is destroyed and a lot of people don't have work at all. So they need it, and like I feel that probably it would be nice to see to go there.
You know, I have a great feeling about this, this story, and it's good to know this. And I'm sure that, the city really needs that now, the new working place, the new opportunities. And if you come from the right time, and you will create these opportunities, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of more excited now than like scared, you know.
Sure, I can get that feeling. Like, on the one hand, it's sort of danger because me here, I always I left Ukraine on the second day of the war while on vacation there, and ever since I looked at the conflict from media, and I see the you know, what, like danger, but life goes on.
Yeah,
And
true.
opportunities have to arise. And this is really interesting and inspirational path that you have chosen. And I have a last simple but kind of meaningful question. So, how do you see your future?
In Ukraine.
Just your future, you know, in Ukraine, in Europe, in the world. How do you see your future?
I kind of don't like this question.
Okay.
Because for me, my life experience showing me that life's changing every day, and like I'm just trying to make something every day to make like the future better. And we'll see, of course. I hope that everything's gonna be okay. We will win this war.
For sure.
For sure. Yes. So.
I wish us the victory as Ukrainians, and I wish you a lot of luck and everything in order to achieve what you would like to achieve in Ukraine or wherever you will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.